Hey everybody, it's Mark from the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. We come live on Twitch every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time at the Crystal Chronicles. Share that podcast on YouTube and your favorite podcast apps. Arrow, Crease, myself, and just guests and friends come to break down every new character, every kit, every fight, and bring you all your DFFOO news and talk. This is a video for my May DFFOO GL tier list, looking at Terra and Garland cycle, and I hope you enjoy it. Like, sub, ring the bell for notifications so you get more videos like this and others. But definitely, this is a quick glimpse at the month. We will, every week, break down those characters and give you the complete picture. But as you're making your plans, I want to give you a little bit of a guide about what I think. So let's go to the tier list. As we start, I remind you, there's a couple different categories. I have gems, I have tickets, I kind of have a question mark, and I have trash. The idea behind these tier lists is for the general player, free to play, maybe just a little bit of money put into the game, you can have about 2 gem pulls, 2 ticket pulls, and then have room for maybe 1 or more of each, and then need some characters that you can skip. I will tell you what my pulls are going to be, but here's my general advice for the month. We start with Terra. Terra gets an LD and a BT, and she becomes an amazing damage dealer. I put her in the gem era. I think you should go after this character. I think she might be the winner of the month for the best character this month. She does consecutive turns, free turns, massive magic damage, unenchanted, so you can enchant her to do even more. She's going to partner well with another character this month, and she partners well with so many characters because she's just a solid damage dealer. She's a lot of fun to play. I know so many of you are just big fans of Sarah. You are not going to be disappointed. I'm definitely going to be pulling for her LD. I want her burst, but if I don't get it, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Again, don't chase bursts. Watch my videos. If you don't believe it, every burst I've chased, I've had to pity, and that will deplete your resources very, very fast. But she does go Esper mode in her burst, and it's pretty cool. On the Arc 3 Chapter 2 Part 1, we also get Bosh LD. It's a rerun, and I would put him in the question mark era. Perhaps if you're a newer player and you don't have a lot of tanks, he might be a good pickup, especially if you're trying to get Terra's burst and trying to pull on as many options as possible. This is not the worst of the banners to pull on. That being said, if you already have his LD, great, use him, LD boards. If you don't, he's not necessarily a character I think he's worth pulling on. He's not bad, but again, these repeat LDs are really not going to be the prize. The next is going to be Emotes' Lost Chapter. On it, we get Emotes. Again, he is the delete, or they are the delete character who's able to delete turns. I put that in the same token. The LD boards that Emotes gets are fine. The problem is it's an older character who's just getting a little bit of upgrade. Certainly not bad. I wouldn't go out of my way to pull for them, especially because there's going to be a new LD on this banner, and that is Deuce. Deuce has always been a strange character in that she can buff the party, but if you get broken, you lose her buff. Deuce gets some healing with her LD. She also gets HP damage up, brave damage up, overflow. Sound familiar? Yes, because that's what Sarah gets. She's not going to do it as well as Sarah. And so I think, unfortunately, Deuce kind of ends up in the bottom of the tier. We're going to have another character who's very, very similar, who really gets pushed down even further because Terra just outshines her, or Sarah outshines them so much. So hopefully you were able to pick up Sarah, Sarah, the one with the bow from Final Fantasy XIII and 13-2. But even if not, there are so many better other options than Deuce that I would just skip this banner completely. The final banner of the Terra cycle is Mog, a brand new character. Mog is a water enchanter and imperiler, as are so many characters in this game. We have Rydia, we have Garnet. There's just a lot of water-focused characters. That being said, if you're down enchanters and perilers, Mog's a good option. Mog also does some great party utility, does decent damage, I think, looking at the kit, has really fun animations. If you're a big Final Fantasy VI fan, I think not a bad banner to throw some tickets on. But that being said, I wouldn't use my gems. And if you want to just try to save some resources, might be okay to skip. That brings us to the next BT cycle, and that's Garland. Garland already has an LD, but he comes back with a BT. I would definitely put him in the gem category. Now, that's going to change if you already have him. If you already have him, then you might want to take one of these ticket characters and move them up to the gem character. But if you don't have Garland, a great pickup, great damage dealing, delay, turn manipulation, a lot of fun. Garland becomes a beast with his LD board rework and his burst. Obviously, you might want to try to pull on a couple banners to get that burst because his burst is very, very cool. The next person on that cycle is 7. 7 from Type 0 is going to be down with her classmate in the trash. 7 is a stacking debuff character. 7 gets an LD. Guess what the LD does? Brave up, overflow, HP damage up, and none of it's as good as Sarah, and some attack aura. None of it's as good as Sarah. Plus, she has the weird stacking debuff, which can be kind of a pain to deal with. At the end of the day, Deuce is bringing more to the table, in my opinion, than 7, and neither of them are bringing to the table what Sarah's bringing to the table now. Now, that being said, you never know, we might get an LD rework, LD board rework, GL first LD board rework like Sarah. So definitely these two could pop up, but for the time being, I think especially if you have Sarah, you don't even need to be considering these two. Even if you missed out on Sarah, there are other options coming forward. That brings us to Dash. Dash comes on a banner with his LC, his Lost Chapter. Dash is good. Dash is a great enchanter and parallel with the lightning element, has that weird kind of random paralyze that can kick, but also just does great elemental damage up. Great character. If you already got his LD, you're going to be able to keep using him with that little boost. If not, I wouldn't pull on the banner. If not, for the banner mate, remember we're going to have a couple double LD banners, and that is Yang from Final Fantasy Final Fantasy IV. What Final Fantasy? Final Fantasy IV, Yang. He's the martial artist from Final Fantasy IV. He becomes so fun. I definitely put him in the ticket era. And specifically because he works so well with Terra. What Yang gets in his LD is a 2-turn framed buff that allows him to counter every time the boss takes a turn and every time an ally takes a turn. Which means when Terra hits her LD button, she gets a whole bunch of turns right in a row. When Terra or any other character uses their burst, they get a whole bunch of turns right in a row. Guess what Yang is doing? He's doing damage. He's constantly doing that follow-up attack after every single action. He also pairs well with Iggy, who's going to come up. Anybody who gets free turns. But Terra and Yang were a great combo. If you already have Garland LD, I might consider moving Yang up to gems and ticket Terra and Yang. They're a great combo. They're going to bring you a long way. That being said, you might get bored of it if you're the kind of person, I don't want to just steamroll everything. I want to play and enjoy the game with different characters. That's fine. But if you're tight on resources, looking to save here in the next couple months, you might want to focus in on these two and leave the rest at home. But if you don't have Desh or Yang like me, it's a great banner because Desh is still a great character to pick up, even though he's wearing a funny jumpsuit. But Yang's really cool. That brings us to Iggy. He's going to be on the end of the month, and I put him in tickets as well. He becomes, Iggy's a fun character. He's a hot cooking mama. Does a stance character, kind of a defensive stance and an offensive stance. Gets a little boost with that, but he also becomes a fire enchanter and imperiler moving forward with his LD. So that's kind of fun as well. So I'd put him in the tickets. He's a favorite character for me, so definitely going to be chasing him, probably using gems, but we'll see how the month goes. So just to go over the tier list for May GL DFFOO 2021, Terra, Garland, gems, tickets for Mog, Yang, and Ignis. Kind of, pass on Bosh, Emotes, and Dash, especially if you already have them. You don't need to pull on them. And then you can skip Deuce and 7 without any issue. If you already have Garland, I would suggest moving Yang to the ticket or to the gems, but move from there. Remember, always pull your favorites Remember, always find the holes in your roster. Maybe you really could use a delete turn. Maybe you really can use a tank. Then these are the characters that you might think about. That's why I have the question mark there to give you something to think about. For myself, I already have Garland LD. I'm going to be chasing Terra. I'm going to be chasing Yang. I'm going to be chasing Iggy. I'm not really going to be pulling on anything else that month, but those are my priorities. Terra, Yang, Iggy. I'd like Garland's Burst, certainly, but I have tokens if I need it. I'd like Terra's Burst. Again, I'm not sure that I token it. I'm not really sure I token either of them, but there are definitely options as well. Let me know what you're doing. Like, sub, ring the bell for notifications. Let me know what your highlights are. Remember, there may be curveballs. Deuce, 7, they may get early GL reworks, right? We never know. We might get a surprise. You never know. I'm not anticipating anything for the month, but that's why I host a weekly podcast, The Crystal Chronicles, on Twitch and right here on YouTube and on your favorite podcast apps, bringing you all that DFFOO news and talk. But again, here's my suggestions for May. Let me know what your suggestions are. And until next time, friends, the best of luck on all your pulls, and we'll see you around.